working in the spirit of the Golden Empire. This is 17 News at noon.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Fisher. We begin with at least 5 people dead after a plane crash in Connecticut. A B-17 bomber was trying to land this morning at Bradley International Airport when it crashed at the end of a runway. 13 people were on board, 10 passengers and 3 crew members. The World War II-era bomber, called a Flying Fortress, belongs to the nonprofit Collings Foundation. That's a preservation group that is dedicated to promoting civil and military transportation. The aircraft was scheduled this week for the foundation's Wings of Freedom tour, where civilians could buy flights on the plane. It's not known if the passengers on this flight bought tickets as part of that program. Bradley International Airport is a hub of commercial travel that serves Hartford and Springfield, Massachusetts. And you may remember the Wings of Freedom tour started in Bakersfield back in April. These are just a couple of photos from that flight. Curtis Noble with Golden Age Flight Museum tells 17 News the plane that crashed this morning is the same plane that was in Bakersfield around 6 months ago. Noble says the B-17 that crashed is one of the last few remaining planes of its kind. Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders is suspending all campaign events after experiencing some chest discomfort. This news comes as Senator Sanders was set to host a town hall at CSUB tomorrow. But the campaign released a statement about earlier this morning saying during a campaign event yesterday evening, Senator Sanders experienced some chest discomfort. Following medical evaluation and testing, he was found to have a blockage in one artery and 2 stents were successfully inserted. Senator Sanders is conversing and in good spirits. He will be resting up over the next few days. We are canceling his events and appearances until further notice and will continue to provide appropriate updates. We have not heard whether the town hall will be rescheduled, but of course we'll let you know as soon as we know. One Kern County city says it doesn't support a new homeless housing plan, but that may not stop the project from moving forward. This group of homes is known as the Shafter Farm Labor Camp. It's on Highway 43 just south of Wasco and just north of Shafter. Hundreds of farm workers live here during the spring and summer months, but during the winter, many homes are empty. So the Housing Authority of Kern wants to use the buildings as temporary housing for homeless women from November through March.
The Wasco and Shafter area accounted for only 15 homeless individuals, and yet the plans were to accommodate up to 50 homeless individuals here in our area. And so there's natural questions in terms of, are the plans to relocate individuals from other areas of the county to the Wasco Shafter area?
Last night, Wasco Mayor Alex Garcia said, like Shafter, the city opposes the housing plan and wants to explore options to stop it. But the vote by the city council may not stop it from happening. That's because the complex sits in unincorporated Kern County that is outside of Wasco city limits. The Kern County Homeless Collaborative is putting out the call for volunteers to help with the 2020 point in time count. The organization is hoping to get 500 people to help with the count. It's scheduled for mid-January from 3:30 till 10 o'clock that morning. Volunteers will canvass the streets and conduct surveys of Kern County's homeless population. The 2019 point-in-time count tallied more than 1,300 people living on Kern County streets. Volunteers must be at least 18 years old and participate in training ahead of the count. If you'd like to register, you can go to the Homeless Collaborative's Facebook page. All right, let's take a look at the forecast because we had a couple of great, beautiful days that felt like fall. A little warmer today.
Well, we're expecting to be near 80, but right now temperatures are just perfect under the clear skies, as you can see out near Rosedale and Mohawk. We're at 68 degrees right now. You couldn't ask for a better start to the afternoon with no winds out there. As we take a look at the temperatures, they are going to rise into the upper 70s, and we're going to be pushing near 80 degrees. And then as we head into the evening, we'll slide back into the 60s, in fact, lower 60s by midnight. Into the mountains, it was a cool morning with the upper 20s. You're at 64 right now, low humidity at 16%. A southeast wind at 22, though, so still that breeze hanging around. And you can see the temperatures this afternoon looking very nice with the upper 60s, but another chilly night ahead, and by midnight, you'll be in the lower 40s. We'll talk more about your forecast. That's coming up in just a few minutes. First, back over to you, Alex.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. Well, now to the latest in the impeachment inquiry. President Trump escalating his attack on the probe into his call with Ukraine's leader. Previously calling it a witch hunt and harassment, now referring to it as a coup. The president's personal attorney also threatening possible legal action against the lawmakers looking into it all. And the State Department's Inspector General is urgently requesting a briefing with congressional staffers. That will take place behind closed doors. It all comes as the standoff intensifies between the Secretary of State and House Democrats. Here's NBC's Kristen Welker to explain.
President Trump ramping up his attacks on the impeachment inquiry engulfing his presidency, tweeting overnight, "As I learn more and more each day, I am coming to the conclusion that what is taking place is not an impeachment, it is a coup." Critics pointing out that impeachment is a legal process laid out by the Constitution, as opposed to a coup, an illegal overthrow of the government. It comes as the Secretary of State is pushing back against House Democrats, accusing them of trying to bully current and former State Department officials into testifying. Traveling in Italy Tuesday, Pompeo ignored questions about all of it, including revelations he was on the July 25th phone call when President Trump asked Ukraine's president to investigate Joe Biden and his son.
Mr. Secretary, do you have any comment on reports you're on the July 25th call with President Zelensky?
Also under increased scrutiny, the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, who has hired his own lawyer, a former Watergate prosecutor, after House Democrats demanded that he turn over text messages and phone records. Overnight, Giuliani giving new details about how he plans to fight back.
I had a couple of talks with civil rights lawyers and a constitutional lawyer today, and here's what they're recommending, that we should bring a lawsuit on behalf of the president and several of the people in the administration, maybe even myself as a lawyer.
And this morning, there are mounting questions about the whistleblower at the center of the firestorm, with the president stepping up his demands to meet the person, drawing a rare rebuke from a top Republican. Senator Chuck Grassley writing, "This person appears to have followed the whistleblower protection laws and ought to be heard out and protected."
That was Kristen Welker reporting. And President Trump continues with harsh words for House Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff, as the president denies reported contents of a phone conversation at the center of an impeachment inquiry. The president spoke to reporters in the Oval Office earlier today with the president of the Republic of Finland by his side, using the words treason and corruption several times in reference to Schiff, House Democrats, former Vice President Joe Biden, and the media.
Not a thing wrong, unless you heard the Adam Schiff version where he made up my conversation. He actually made it up. It should be criminal. It should be treasonous. He made it up, every word of it, made up, and read to Congress as though I said it. And I'll tell you what, he should be forced to resign from Congress. Adam Schiff, he's a lowlife. He should be forced to resign.
The company who owned the doomed Conception is stopping tours in the wake of the deadly boat fire. Truth Aquatic says it's voluntarily suspending its fleet. 34 people died when the Conception somehow caught fire off the Channel Islands on Labor Day. In a Facebook post, Truth Aquatic says it's dedicating efforts to make its boats, quote, models of new regulations. Federal authorities are conducting a criminal investigation into the deadly fire. Truth Aquatics filed a lawsuit to head off potentially costly litigation. The company already faces a lawsuit from the cook on board the Conception, who broke his leg trying to escape the flames. Well, in sports news, the Dodgers now know who they'll take on in the National League Division Series. The Milwaukee Brewers faced off against the Washington Nationals for the wild card game last night. It looked like the Brewers had the game in the bag. They were up 3-1 for most of that game, but that all changed in the bottom of the eighth. With the bases loaded, the Nationals' Juan Soto hit a single and brought in 3 runs. The Nats win it 4-3, and check out the celebration in the locker room afterwards. The guys were bathing in champagne and beer as the team advances. Now here's a look at the updated bracket. Tonight is the American League wild card game. It'll be the Oakland A's versus the Tampa Bay Rays. The winner of that game will face the Houston Astros in the ALDS. Then tomorrow, the Dodgers will take on the Nationals in Los Angeles. You can watch the game 1 on TBS at 5:30. Well, still ahead, another death linked to vaping has been confirmed, and a father shares his story on the dangers of it. His emotional plea coming up after the break. Welcome back. 17 and counting. Health officials confirm another death associated with vaping. This morning on Sunrise, we told you about the 16th death out of New Jersey. This latest death is from Alabama, and the Alabama Department of Public Health says a man from the eastern part of the state died. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports 805 people have been confirmed are probably cases of lung injury associated with vaping in 46 states. Alabama will likely be added to that total when the CDC updates its numbers later this week. A Florida father's warning. He passed out in front of his little girl and was rushed to the hospital after vaping. Maris Baddock reports.
Sean Parton doesn't remember calling 911.
Sean, how are you feeling?
He's listening to the call for the first time.
I didn't think I'd hear that.
Hours after vaping from this cartridge, Sean passed out in this Wellington restaurant.
Did anything about the cartridge look strange when you got it?
Nope, because it looked the same as the others.
His little girl,
That's Layla.
3-year-old Layla, witnessed it.
She remembers a lot of it.
What?
Mommy's in the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in the bathroom with me.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll pass out.
It all started when Sean had an anxiety attack at work and couldn't get to his CBD cartridge at home. He says he asked a coworker to buy him one. Sean thought that cartridge was filled with THC-free CBD oil, which is legal. Now Sean and his wife worry the cartridge was defective. Sean was hospitalized for seizures. He can't drive a car for 6 months.
Synthetics are out there, and that's unfortunately part of our space.
Jonathan Gary runs Earth Florida, a CBD shop with more than 70 products. He can't comment on whether Sean's incident involved synthetic oil, a defective cartridge, or something else. But he says there are inferior products out there.
You can buy empty cartridges from a company, and at that point fill it up with your own oil and pass that off as that company's brand.
Ugh. Very scary right there.
Just best not to do it.
Yep.
68 degrees out there under the clear skies. Beautiful start to the afternoon here, and nice and comfortable on the temperatures as well. We're going to slowly see those temperatures climb near 80 this afternoon. Again, no winds to talk about currently. Taking a look at other temperatures, upper 60s in Delane on Wasco, 70 in Buttonwillow, and then 50s, 60s, lower 70s in the mountains currently. Tehachapi at 64, 73 for Lake Isabel at this time. Overnight, we were at 50 degrees, 10 degrees off the normal. Normal high today is 85. We're going to be about 5 to 6 degrees shorter than that, and 103 the record on this date, but that was back in 1917. 6:39 will be your sunset this evening. Take you out near Wasco, 69 and sunny, and Arvin looking just as nice at 70 degrees, and up in the mountains, Golden Hills, the upper 50s and 59. Here's a look at the satellite and radar, and we've got clear skies and no rain headed our way, but I wanted to give you kind of a perspective from last year all the way through 2014. We didn't pick up any rain last October, only a trace in 2017, about a quarter of an inch. 2016, we brought it back down to 1,400ths of an inch in 2015. And again, 2014 was a big water year, and we picked up over a half an inch of rain. So we'll see what happens this year. As we can see, clear skies around the state. Northern California right on the leading edge of another cold front that's going to swing through the Pacific Northwest, and a little bit of that cooler air will make its way into our region. Right now, temperatures running in the mid-60s for the Bay Area, 69 in Fresno, lower 70s down to the south into LA and San Diego, and highs today are a little bit warmer, 78 in Sacramento, Fresno right near Bakersfield at 80, and then 70s and 80s south. Vegas not bad at 80 degrees, and we're looking at lower 90s out of Arizona. So here's what's happening. We've got this trough that's going to kind of swing on through. It's going to be in a more northerly direction, so we're not going to get the cool down like we saw the last few days. Once that exits, this ridge over Mexico is going to make its way a little north, and that means a warm-up will be in store for us by the end of the weekend into early next week when those lower 90s will return. You can kind of see it here on the jet stream. This is the trough that I'm talking about. See how it kind of makes its way northern California and lifts north, but then we get this ridge that builds in from the south, and that's the heat that we'll see by the end of the weekend, and by Monday, again, lower 90s. Air quality today, good. So you get great temperatures, clear skies, and better yet, good air quality with an AQI at 46. And we should be near 80 today for Bakersfield, along with Delano at 79, 78 McFarland and Taft for the mountains in the Kern River Valley. Still seeing a little bit of a breeze out there. 71 in Frazier Park, 69 in Tehachapi with upper 70s. Into the Kern River Valley, Lake Isabella 78 today with Weldon at 73. And then for the desert, sunny skies, 76 in Mojave, 80 in Ridgecrest. The extended forecast tomorrow 82, and then a little bit of a cool down as we see that front pass on through to the north with 78. But then that ridge I talked about builds back in, and we're right near 90 Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Then for the mountains, 72 tomorrow, upper 60s and breezy on Friday, and then 70s, upper 70s will be back on the board Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then for the Kern River Valley, plenty of sunshine tomorrow, 80, 79 on Friday, then right near 90 degrees for the Kern River Valley as well by the end of the weekend into early next week. So just a little swing in the temperatures, but
not
right
too bad.
now remaining dry.
All right, love it.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Kev. All right, well, still ahead. Time is running out. You have less than a year to get a real ID, what you should know before going to the DMV, plus the things you need to bring in order to apply. We're back after this.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Back now on your 17 Business Watch and checking stocks. The Dow is down 433 points. NASDAQ down 112, and the S&P 500 is down 45. Meantime, checking oil prices. West Texas Intermediate is at $52.49 a barrel, and Midway Sunset is at $57.37 a barrel. Well, a warning from the TSA and the nation's DMVs. You've now got less than 1 year to update your state driver's license to a real ID, or you may not be able to board an airline flight starting next October. Congress passed the Real ID law following 9/11 to ensure a single minimum security standard for every state driver license. It takes effect on October 1st, 2020. NBC's Tom Costello has more.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have both sides available. Please step down. 363 days till your TSA checkpoint routine changes. Starting October 1st, 2020, you won't be able to fly using your driver's license if it doesn't have a Real ID star in the top corner.
I see you do not have the star on your ID, so make sure you have the star on your ID so you're being compliant with the Real ID Act starting in 2020 of next year, okay?
The TSA is trying to get the word out, but 73% of Americans don't yet have a Real ID.
The shot clock is on. It is time for everyone to get the star.
Many state DMVs have opened mobile units and satellite offices to handle the surge of residents now upgrading to a Real ID. Everybody required to prove their identity with 4 forms of ID that can include a valid license, a passport, social security card, birth certificate, utility bill, payroll stub, rent or mortgage payment, or military ID.
I don't like long lines or a lot of waiting for hours on end, so I figured I'd be on the whole year ahead.
Travelers who don't have a Real ID by the deadline will still be allowed to fly using a passport, a global entry card, or a military ID, but the TSA says there will be no exceptions.
If they don't have a passport or another form of identification, this means a very uncomfortable, long process for them, largely resulting in a very bad day. They will not be able to travel.
The worst-case scenario, airports could be filled with people who've bought non-refundable tickets or return flights home, yet don't have the Real IDs to get through TSA.
Are you going to wait till the last minute?
No. Now that you're asking me out loud, I won't.
The advice from TSA now, don't delay.
I got mine a couple months ago. Make the appointment for the DMV as soon as possible so you can just get right in and right out. All right, we'll be back after this. Welcome back. A new farm-to-table restaurant in Hollywood with a very unique twist. It is the first legal cannabis cafe in the nation. NBC's Gotti Schwartz paid a visit.
It's high noon in West Hollywood, and the line for the newest restaurant in town is down the block.
Anything joint pre-rolls would be at the front, followed by flower.
Inside, forget the wine, waiters are asking, would you like to see the weed list?
I gotta ask, before this, when was the last time you guys smoked?
Years ago, a long time ago. Yeah.
It's been a while. And what was it like today?
We're coming back, let's just put it that way.
This is Lowell Farms, the first restaurant like it in the country, where customers are greeted by a flower host, kind of like a sommelier for smokers. From there, they can order from a cornucopia of cannabis, which they can consume before, after, or during a meal, and then finish it off with some weed-infused tea.
You get to chill, you get to eat, you smoke. It's a really cool ambiance. It's nice, and you're with your friends and you're out.
Head chef Andrea Drummer says her focus is organic.
Food absolutely does taste better when you're consuming cannabis. It really enhances all of the flavor profiles.
AKA the munchies.
The truth is that you do get the munchies when you consume cannabis. Hopefully what that translates to is more food sales for us here.
And flower hosts like Erica Soto are experts at recommending pot pairings for any meal.
I personally love pairing like Chemdog, for example, which is a sativa, with a social setting, obviously, and also a really nice like fruity dish. So if you were to get like, let's say the cranberry salad.
For new or infrequent users, Soto suggests starting slow and avoiding edibles, which she says can give a longer lasting high. In California, recreational marijuana has been legal since 2018, but it's still banned under federal law. And when it comes to making sure people don't get too baked,
As you get older, you gain more wisdom.
Right.
You know when to stop a little bit. You know, you have more control, I think.
What about all these youngins over here?
I think they're fine. That's fine. They're having a good time.
all under the watchful eye of the entire staff.
So your job is to make sure people don't get too stoned.
Pretty much, yeah. My job or security, we hope that people are going to be responsible adults.
Flower host Bianca Blanche says there's something here for everyone.
Some low-dose edibles, gummies, some chocolate. We have our loose flower. We also have our pre-rolls. This is our variety pack.
But there are rules. They've installed high-tech air filters to clear out smoke. Customers have to be 21. You can't take marijuana to go, but you can bring in your own stash.
So BYOB here, does that mean you can bring your own bong?
Bring your own bud. Please don't bring your own bong. No, we do allow outside cannabis, but there is what we refer to as a tokage fee.
A tokage fee.
A new kind of cafe for a budding industry trying to become more mainstream every day.
Prohibition is literally over, so.
We're back after this.
Welcome back. Finally at noon, the number of people who can now shout Uno just got bigger and more inclusive. Mattel just made a Braille version.
I think this is pretty cool. With more than 7 million blind and low vision people here in the U.S., Mattel decided to work with the National Federation of the Blind to just make it happen. The deck will feature Braille dots on the corner of each card, and there's also Braille on the front and back of the box. This isn't the first time Mattel has taken steps to be more inclusive. They also have an Uno set for folks who are colorblind. I think that's really neat.
Cool.
I think it's neat that you did that because, we all like to play these types of games, but we don't realize sometimes it can be difficult for others. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us here for the news at noon. We'll see you back here for 17 News at 5.
17 News, your local news leader, continues 24 hours a day on KGET.com and our 17 News app in the spirit of the Golden Empire. 17 News.